Hey guys, welcome to our end of the year recap show. This is going to be our final one for 2021. We're checking out Boone Lake and what took place at the Classic. We're talking about the year and how it went and how it shook out in the Angler of the Year. And then we're even going to preview and talk a little bit about what our desires would be for next year's schedule before it comes out. And then we'll do a show later on talking about the lakes that the tournament committee selects. But today we've got Kelsey with us again, and perfectly enough, Kelsey is also our 2021 TNCBA Piney Pawn and Firearms Angler of the Year. So, Kelsey, I'm going to go straight to you because you were also our Classic champion, man. You knocked it out of the park down there. It was a struggle, guys. It was a cold morning. The bite was slow as far as keeper fish. Had been the same since October. You know, we went there. We talked about that tournament previously, that bites were plentiful. You could get bit all day long. If you wanted to take somebody fishing right now and get bit, that was the place to be, especially that time around the Classic, because you were going to get bites, no doubt about it. But Kelsey did it better than the rest of us. So I'm going to let him take it away here, guys. So Kelsey, talk to us about how your day transpired there at the Classic, any changes you made, anything you had to switch up, and how it worked out for you, bud.
All right. So starting out first thing in the morning, kind of went back to what we did earlier this season on Boone Lake. Went to the same spot and caught two right off the bat. I mean, within the first 10 minutes of the tournament, Dad and I both had a keeper in the boat on a jerk bait, and then the bite absolutely died for us right there on that spot. We spent a lot of time there. Didn't really have much going on. Decided to move up the lake, done a few different things. Just couldn't find any size. Came back down, tried our spot one more time just to try and test it out. And this is, I mean, when I say we caught those fish early, I mean, like I said, first 5-10 minutes of the tournament, boats are still going by us.
You're getting bit.
And we got bit those first two, and then it just died off, and we didn't even catch little fish.
But now, were you seeing as much bait on the graph or fish movement on the graph there in that area?
That was the thing. We could see them, just couldn't get them to bite or anything like that. And then there was a lot of stuff going on out in the main channel. A lot of fish breaking. They were schooling, but you couldn't get to them in time, or you couldn't figure out what they would bite. So, I mean, it was very frustrating for start of the morning. I mean, you know, got two in the box, and then getting towards 12 o'clock, you know, you're sweating it thinking, man, I got to do something, because, I mean, really going into it, it was one of those situations I had to do well in this tournament to make the Angler of the Year points.
Right. And let me set that up for you guys really quick. So going into this last one, it's between him and Dad, and the way that everything's set up, had a little bit of a stumble at Watauga a little bit. So that kind of put him, he had the lead in the Angler of the Year going into Watauga after our Boone Lake event. And then Watauga, the last regular season, slipped up just a little bit and fell 4 points behind. So he was coming into the Classic, which now is an individual points paying deal. You're fishing for your own 5 fish. Bob has to fish for his own 5. So him and Dad are competing for this Angler of the Year spot. And he's basically in a must win, because the way our drops work, Dad had a 45 or something like that to fall back on. So for you to get your points, you essentially needed to win to make that jump and overtake him. So you're sitting there at 12 o'clock. You got one in the box for you. Your dad's got one in the box. And you're thinking, I'm going to have to throw Dad's fish back if it's bigger than mine, because I can't let my very own dad be the one to beat me.
Well, luckily he had a spot and I had a smallmouth in the live well. So, I mean, I knew mine was bigger. But no, we come back down to where we originally started. And like I said, there was bait all in the area. Fish action, just could not get nothing to react. And we did catch a few smaller fish, but not in an abundance or anything like that. So I'm sitting there racking my brain thinking, man, we got to go somewhere else. And there was one other spot that I wanted to try. Really, it was where I wanted to go was kind of on a flat. I was thinking they may push some bait up there or something like that. But rolling down the lake, come around, I think that's point 19. They're going
the one going to Deer Lick.
You come on down past that little place called Allison Cove. And there's that flat right there. That's where I was initially going, but then I was like, no, let's try here on the point, see what's going on. Let's start here and we'll work our way to it. Well, we pull up there and we automatically start catching a bunch of the little fish that are there. I mean, we probably caught 50, 60 in a short amount of time, double catching two at the same time. And then I was like, we'll just sit here and catch these for a little bit and have a little fun anyways. Cause I mean, we've had a rough day leading up to that.
Yeah.
And then I started looking down at the graph and you could see some bigger fish below them. So, I mean, we started off with a jerk bait, just catching a bunch of them. Dad actually did catch one that was halfway decent. It was just a little short.
Yep.
So I got the idea. I'm going to throw something that's a little heavier, that's working on the bottom, try to get below them. So I pick up a Kitech and I'm fishing on the back side of the point, facing back out the lake, back out to the main channel, and casting down that point on the back side of it, and slow rolling a Kitech. And just that, I let it sink before I even started reeling it, because like I said, those if you started reeling it up in the water column, those fish would absolutely just wear you out. So
share my screen here real
you're good.
Kelsey, you keep on talking. This may lag a little bit, guys, but we'll try to get it through to you. All right, keep going, buddy. So here's point 19 here, and then you come on down around, and here's Allison Cove.
Yeah. So if you look at that point right there, I was on the back side of it, and these fish were actually sitting quite a bit deeper than you would think. I mean, we were catching them in probably anywhere between 30 and 35 foot of water.
Okay.
And I caught my first. Well, Dad actually caught. He had two in the live well at the time, and I only had one. And then I picked up that Kitech. So I was really sweating then too.
So now you're sweating because he's going to beat you out. He's going to be the one to keep you from winning.
Yeah. So I pick up that Kitech and I throw it out there, and I start slow rolling it back. And about the third cast, I get a bite, and I set the hook, and I feel it's a better fish. It's not one of those little fish that we've been fighting the whole time.
Right.
So I get it to the boat, and it's probably about a 14.5-inch, 15-inch spotted bass. And I mean, good weight to it. I mean, at least almost 2 pounds. So I'm like, okay, I keep doing that for a little bit longer. Dad catches another one. So now he's got 3 in the box, and I've just got 2. So
you two are really going back and forth this whole time.
Yeah, really start sweating it. And then I'm like, okay, let's switch it up. I wasn't getting as many bites on the Kitech, so I picked up an Alabama rig. Okay. And as I pick up the Alabama rig, I'm going out towards the end of that point.
All right.
And I mark a big ball of bait. I mean, a massive ball of bait, and tons of fish around them. And I see several large dots underneath them. Okay. So I've got the boat pointed heading out towards the main lake, and I'm casting directly behind the boat. And I wait, let it fall, and then just slow roll that Alabama rig. And that's how I ended up picking up my next few fish, my last 3 keepers.
Okay.
So, I mean,
now we had talked about this a little bit too, was the fact that those smaller fish were up on top of the points.
Mm-hmm.
But it really seemed like if you got over here into the drains or the creek channels that were running right next to the points, they were off the side suspended. And Dad and I caught our fish. I can get this to move over here. Back in Friday Holler on a similar situation. These 2 points that are coming in to Friday Holler were where you see the creek channel run close by to these 2 here. We were catching little ones on top of the points, but I caught my 2 keepers on the side here. And it was just off the side of the point. And they weren't necessarily as deep as what you're talking about. But again, noticing that those fish were kind of pulled off of the top of those points, hanging off on the side of them, was an interesting thing. But now I didn't fish that point down there at Allison Cove in October. Did you all fish down there in October?
No, we did not. We fished one spot the whole time.
That whole time. Well, what I was going to say is what was interesting to me, because the other place that me and Dad had been catching fish was right here down towards the dam on this point right here coming out of this creek. But those fish, and it was shocking to me though, but those fish were in the same place. Like basically these fish were all setting up. They hadn't moved much. Those schools of spotted bass and bait fish and stuff were still hanging in these exact same areas. And I found that a little bit interesting. like I said, I don't know how much of it has to do with the fact that this lake has been down for so long, and now it's all fresh and new to these fish, for it to be fluctuating this much. But I did find that very interesting that those fish were staging up in those same areas. But again, guys, when you look at these lakes this time of year, when you get into the fall to winter transition, these fish are feeding up heavy. You're looking for those balls of bait. Starting out in the mouths of these creek channels is one of the easiest ways to do it, the highest percentage areas, because the bait's going to start to move back. The water temperatures are cooling down. And the one thing that we noticed here, again, we had a super cold morning. That bait's not going to sit right up on top of those points when it gets super cold. They're going to slide off into these ditches. And I think that's where they had hung out all day long.
Yeah. And really to think about it is, the mouths of those pockets and those creeks, especially when we were out there, we had just started getting some really cold temperatures, cold nights and things like that. So, I mean, those fish haven't moved all the way back there to do what they were going to do just yet.
Right.
I think you're going to see more of them back in the creeks, in the next weeks to come. But those main points, secondary points, I really think were key for this. Like I said, I had two spots. I had the first one come off Kitech, the second one come off of an A-rig, and then I caught another largemouth on the back side of it. And then we finally pulled out to the front side of it, still in the same depth of water. And that's where I caught my fifth keeper right there on that front point.
Okay.
On the front of the point.
And guys, like I said, looking at these, pay attention to your contour lines, even though it's a subtle one. This right here is a channel swing. That channel is coming in and it's kissing against this area right here before it heads on back. So those channel swings are major stopping areas.
Yeah, and if you look at the front side of that point too, I mean, you see how the river channel kind of curves back into it.
Yeah,
I don't care what time of year it is, channel swings are always key.
Yeah,
those fish live there year round,
and especially on our lakes that are fluctuating throughout the course of the year, those are very stable areas. Those fish have shallow water access and deep water access right there close by. So a channel swing for us plays constantly just because it is such a stable area for those fish. All right, so things play out, things wrap up, y'all head in. I'm just going to tell on Kelsey a little bit because it was just funny to watch him walk around the boat ramp for a while, freaking out on trying to figure out what everybody had. So as he walks around all the boats, trying to figure it out, because again, you ended up with what, 1180?
1172.
1172. So he has 1172. And he's checking really close. He's been in touch with us once during the day to see how things have been going. And I fussed at him, told him he couldn't be asking us no more stuff. And we get in there and he comes at the end, he weighs in 1182 and he's sitting pretty. Cause I mean, second place was what, 6 something?
680. I think it was like 689 or something like that.
So 689. So you definitely got first, but now you got to sit there and sweat it out. Does Dad finish higher than 5th place? So all he needed was 3 pounds. But of course, Dad just had one of those days. Like he started out and he just anything he caught was short. And that was the case for a lot of people. I mean, I would say close to half the field zeroed in this thing just because getting that 15-inch keeper was such a struggle. So that was how it played out. But it was fun to see your face and see the joy on your face when it was actually done and over with. It was neat to see the comeback, the fact that you did struggle at Watauga a little bit. So you had your feet to the fire coming into this last one. So that was fun to watch and fun to see. And these AOY races recently have been nail biters. I think. Oh yeah. They've all come down to the last event and it's been a lot of fun. So looking back, Kelsey, on the year, is there one tournament or a stretch of tournaments that like got your confidence going or got your head right? Because again, the fishing world's about momentum. It's about making good decisions. Is there a tournament that sticks out in your head that you just really feel like, I don't know, just clicked for this year and got things started off right for you?
Well, I mean, the first tournament of the year definitely was one of those ones that was set the tone. Because, I mean, we started out strong. Second tournament, not so much, but that first tournament, I mean, we come in with 17 pounds of fish. And, I mean,
Oh yeah.
Thought that, coming into weigh-in, that was one of those days thinking, man, we caught them good. Everybody else must have done pretty good too.
Right.
Thinking about that, and then to see that we did something a little different, and it worked. That was one thing that sparked a lot of confidence. And then the Watauga Day tournament
Okay.
was another one that just started picking up that momentum. Realizing we're hanging up there in the top part, and there's a chance.
Yeah. And that's what I've talked about with Dad. Like once you start to make a few good decisions and you do a couple things, you start to have faith in those decisions that you're making. And guys, that's what it probably goes back to more than anything is that this decision-making process. Had Kelsey just pulled out on that flat and just went down that flat, you'd have bypassed every bit of that. But taking the time to think and make that decision of, okay, here's how the bait's setting up, here's what the fish are doing, and reacting to that in the right way and making good decisions and not just running off of history or something like that to that extent. You've got to start making those good decisions. And that's when things really start to click and you can put together a great year like Kelsey and Bob did and put together an AOY run as having those good decisions. And like he said, you get that little bit of confidence, that taste of it early in the year, and it makes a world of difference. And looking back, like it just, I don't know, like I look at Dad and fishing, picking up chatterbait and getting something with confidence and having some confidence with something, that's the other piece to it.
And that's another thing, like this year, I mean, I've done a lot of things that I've never done really. I mean, they're tried and true things to do, but they just were things that I never really had confidence in, like say the Watauga tournament. We finished out our limit with a wacky rig worm. I know that's a tried and true bait and you can catch a ton of them doing it, but that was just one of those things that I never threw a lot of because if I'm going to finesse, I normally throw a tube or something like that. So I mean, that was one of them. The Boone tournament, the first Boone tournament, day tournament that we had, throwing that jerk bait. I mean, that was one of those things that I never threw a lot.
It was the first one that you had landed on a jerk bait, right?
Yeah, that was the first fish I'd got to the boat. Now I've hooked several in the past, but I never had much confidence in it because I didn't really have a good ratio with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Didn't have a lot of success with it. So, I mean, that tournament really made a difference for me because I grew that much more confidence in something that I didn't.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
and guys, that's what I suggest all of you, encourage all of you out there to do is don't try to fish every single technique under the sun. One, because like it'll wear you out trying to figure every single one of them out, but pick up a new one this year, pick up a new one next year. And a lot of these are seasonal too. So maybe say this spring, I'm going to pick up this technique here and I'm going to work with it. I'm going to try it every time I go out, but you got to give it some time. You can't go out there and fish it for 5 minutes and be like, whatever. So pick something new up once a year, pick something new up once a season, and you'll be blown away by how many more fish you'll put in the boat just because you have that in your arsenal. But and you got to fish those confidence things, those strength things.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, Dad and I are pretty confident with certain things that we do. And there's a lot of consistency in that. But I want to say probably what made the biggest difference was changing up to things that I wasn't as confident with.
Right.
And growing confidence in those. Because, I mean, if I would have just stuck to the things that I was comfortable with in some of these tournaments,
you'd had one fish.
I wouldn't have done. Yeah, we wouldn't have done as well.
And that's the thing. I mean, so you said you start out with your confidence. You go to those confidence pieces, but being able to make that switch, going over there and throwing a Kitech or an A-rig under those bass and stuff, it's going to put more fish in your boat when those confidence lures aren't working. Like you said, you all blew us out of the water on Boone earlier this year with a jerkbait. You went back to it this time, and if you'd have been stubborn, like a lot of us do, and you'd have thrown that jerkbait all day long, you'd have come in there with one fish apiece, and you'd have missed out on AOY. But because you were willing to change up and not stick with that same thing, it made all the difference. But let's talk about what you did through. So with the Kitech, color, size, head, Alabama rig, what was your setup with those baits?
So with the Kitech, I was throwing the 3/8 ounce Moon Eye jig head,
right?
And I was throwing a 2.8 Kitech, or not a Kitech. It's actually a Bass Pro Shop swim
Okay.
bait, but it's basically a Kitech.
Yeah, same thing.
The sexy chartreuse or the sexy shad color.
Okay.
And that's what I normally throw on a Kitech. That's what I like if I'm going to be throwing it. With the Alabama rig, we had these things forever, and they've been on there forever because I don't throw it that much.
They're rusted.
So they're little. I mean, not the hooks or nothing like that. I keep it in a good place. But this right here, now I'm throwing. This is a 5-inch, but I was throwing a 4-inch. This is a KVD perfect plastic. And it is a
swimming fluke.
It is a swimming shiner.
A swimming shiner,
in the ghost shad color. This is all I really throw on my A rigs.
Let me ask you this: were they all the same color though?
Yes.
Okay, so you were throwing all the same color?
Yeah, all same color, all same size. Because before I have thrown a bigger one. This is like I said, this is 5-inch, but I normally throw the 4-inch all the way around. In the center one being a 5-inch. But I actually switched up and went to a 4-inch, so they were all the same size. And like I said, this doesn't look like it would have much action as far as like a Kitech would, but these actually you can just slow roll them. That tail is super really soft, and they swim through the water really well.
And what size heads did you say you had on that A rig?
If you want me to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you because I've not changed them. I've not changed them.
I don't throw it that much. Like I rarely throw it, and mainly because the tournament series, like the Tennessee Team Show, doesn't allow it. Mm-hmm. So I've been like, I'm not gonna play with it. That way, I don't get in a bad habit of just reach around there and grab it, man.
Yeah.
I don't get in a bad habit of leaning on it because I know that at certain times of the year, like it'll get bites when nothing else will. So I've been trying to force myself to fish other stuff. That way I don't rely on that. But now, is it the Flash Mob Junior? Or is it?
No.
Yeah. It's not the Flash Mob Junior? Oh,
it's the Junior, yeah.
Okay.
It's a smaller size. If it's not all tangled up.
Now.
But you can see that center one is actually a different color than the rest of them because the other ones are older. They have faded over time.
So
got a little more color to them.
So we'll go back to that. So yes, on your A rig, throw one that is a different color, or just let them fade out so bad and put a brand new one on the center one.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Keeps you from having to buy multiple colors, guys, and trying to figure that out. You just let them fade. Just let them fade. Well played, Kelsey. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
But the other thing, guys, those Picasso heads, those Picasso dummy heads that you got on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love those things. It makes it super easy. You're not cutting hooks off of good swim bait heads. And they're just a spring lock. Of course, here in Tennessee, we can only throw three hooks on ours. The other two have to be dummies. So those Picasso dummies are really, really good.
Yeah, and always make sure they're lighter than the ones on the bottom.
Yes, for sure. So have you a little bit heavier head. But one thing that I've learned in listening to some people talk about the A-Rig is just throwing it a lot lighter heads than what we originally did when it first came out, and going super light down to like 16ths or 8ths, and then maybe some quarters on the bottom 3 or that center, and then the bottom 2.
Yeah. And I want to say that's probably more than likely that's what I have on that one. I just couldn't tell you.
Okay.
They're the J-Whale swim bait heads.
Yeah. And guys, the thing is, like, that A-Rig it can be killer at certain times, but like Kelsey said, me and him both know that you can sit there and throw it until your arms fall off and also never get a bite. That's why I would not call myself a super fan of it. I'm not going, oh man, I'm going A-Rig fishing today, man.
Yeah, no. I was beat up after the day was over. I threw that thing so much. And I'll be honest with you. Like I said, when I picked it up, the last 3 keepers that I got came off of it.
Yeah.
But they were, I caught my first one on that. I caught my first one on it probably about 12:45, something like that, somewhere around there, 12:50. And then, I caught another one probably about 1:30, and then another one on it right there about 2:15-ish, somewhere around in there. So I mean, it was
It was spread out,
It was a spread out bite. You weren't catching them, boom, boom, boom,
but the
and
quality was there.
but the quality was there.
And sometimes that's what it takes. Other than getting a million bites, excuse me, you're getting 3 bites. You're getting 5 bites a
Exactly.
day on the thing, but they're the right kind of bites that you need in the situation. So that's the big key. All right, so that all played out well and good. Took you to the top, gave you the Classic win and the Angler of the Year, the Piney Pawn and Firearms Angler of the Year. So, as our Angler of the Year, one cool thing that Piney Pawn and Firearms is doing for us is they are paying the entry fees for our Angler of the Year in 2022. So that is a cool thing. But let's switch gears a little bit. And since you are our Angler of the Year, and our tournament committee will be sitting down soon to think about where we're going to be fishing in 2022. Where would you like to go, Kelsey, if you had the choice? So we're going to run down through our months. We usually take December, January off. We're not fishing anywhere. We're going to get into February. But let's do like I always like to start out with the tournament committee. Out of town. Where would you pick if you had anywhere to pick for the out of town? Where are you going?
Well, we haven't been there in a while, and Guntersville would be my top pick for out of town.
All right.
Definitely. That's one of those lakes that, Chickamauga's fun, stuff like that. But the thing about Chickamauga is you know it just as well as I do. You can have days out there where you can't catch any keeper fish. You'll catch a ton of them, but you will not catch the keepers. And I always feel like we have always had a good turnout on the Guntersville tournament.
People like going down there.
We've had really good tournaments down there as far as everybody catching fish. They're catching the right size fish. I mean, I just feel like there's an abundance of 2.5 pound fish down there that anybody can do halfway decent and place well in those tournaments.
And have a lot of
fun.
And like you said, a lot of our guys have been going to Guntersville because it was the place before Chick ever got back on fire. So like Guntersville is where a lot of people have gone over the years.
Oh yeah.
They've spent time down there, vacationing down there. All right. So Guntersville, that's your out of town, but when?
I like either the last 2 weeks of May or the first 2 weeks of June. We've always had some. The fish are always in you can catch them just about anything.
Yeah,
you can go crank ledges. You can go Carolina rig the ledges. You can go fish some grass. You can catch them shallow.
Top water still playing.
Top water, and you can catch big fish still. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, we went down there when we had the junior club, the kids club.
Yep.
And we went down in that same time frame, and everybody that was down there caught a fish that was over 5 pounds.
Yeah, that was a cool experience.
So I mean, that's something to think about. There's just a lot of good consistency in the fishing. I mean, you can do multiple different things, fish the way you want, and catch fish down there. So
I would totally agree. All right, so let's say that's our June event. All right, so that's our June event. You're going out of town for June. So let's get to February.
Okay.
What's your choice for February? And don't be partial just because y'all kicked our butts up there on Holston in February. Where do you really want to go?
I would still like to keep it on South Holston. I like being close. I like to be close to home on those first few months of the tournaments and stuff. And I'll be honest with you, Cherokee's just not been that good to me in the past. It just seems like it's on a downward. It's been on a downward trend for
the one thing I will say that I have learned about Cherokee is that time of year, you just gotta head towards the dam, and that's where your most consistency is. But you've got to spend some time down there learning how to chase those smallmouth around. Where used to, I feel like when we first joined the club, because Cherokee was our normal go-to place at the beginning of the year. It was always Cherokee in February, and you could go down there and crank or throw a jerk bait, and you could go catch some largemouth. But I feel like the largemouth have been up there in that middle section of the lake where everybody typically fishes. It's just been a lot tougher to get bites and stuff. So you're staying Holston in February, which a lot of things play. Kitech, Demiki, jerkbait could play depending on how warm it is.
It's one of those tournaments that I feel like, a lot of people would still do several different things.
Tight lining.
And yeah, tight lining.
Yeah.
But they could do several different things and actually still
Right.
do well. I mean,
and like you said, it's a local lake. If weather's
Yeah.
bad, making changes, you're not traveling too far.
exactly.
All right. So February, you're going to Holston. March, where are you going?
March. I would say probably Douglas.
Ooh, I was just talking to Dad yesterday. We were up on Holston fishing long A bite, and I said to him, like we've been a lot of places now with some of these other tournament trails, fishing Cherokee super early, or fishing Norris early, or fishing Chickamauga. I said one place I haven't been to like super early in the year very much is Douglas, and that's one
Well,
that I would be like, it'd be
I would,
different.
excuse me. I would say Douglas. We haven't had a tournament down there earlier in the year in a long time. I feel like, I mean, it's been a while, and we used to go down there earlier in the year. And I mean, you can do several different things right about that time. You should be able to start catching them on a crankbait.
Yeah.
You could definitely throw an A rig or
Yeah.
I feel like you do a lot of moving baits,
Yeah.
and you could at least beat the bank, catch a bunch of fish, go throw jigs on these bluffs.
And the
and
nice
stuff
thing
like that.
again,
I mean,
and I don't want to play it to the small side, but like 12 inchers keep. So getting a keeper, you've got a better chance. You might feel a little bit more hopeful going into it, since you only need a 12 incher to keep down there.
And I feel like those fish are going to start feeding up around that time of year. You got the spawn would be right around the corner in the month of March. So I mean,
Yep.
Those fish should be eating pretty well. So I think Douglas would be a great March tournament.
I agree.
We haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah, that'd be, and that's something I definitely like for us, is get a little bit of a change up, a little bit of a difference in there. All right, so April, where are we going? AOI.
Well, see, that's the problem.
See, you shot yourself in the foot with saying Holston for the first one, because now all the guys are going to be like, well, we've already gone to Holston once this year.
Watauga. I would love to go to Holston in April, but I mean, I know that's a hard one to do because everybody wants to go. Everybody
wants to go to Holston
in April. But Watauga would be my second choice. Really,
yeah,
has to be my first choice in this one. But April up there, that smallmouth spawn would be going on, and that would be, and we've had. I mean, in the past few years, we've had several good tournaments up there.
Yep.
In the club that time of year.
Yep. I agree. I like that one. So we go Holston February. You say go Douglas in March, go Watauga in April. Then in May, where are you going?
Back to Watauga. Back to back.
It's a double header. It's a double header on Watauga. Well, I would agree. I like it. But I will say this: Cherokee in May, the smallmouth down the lake and stuff, that place plays really well. Or flip it and go Cherokee in April, because you had the FLW tour there in April that one year, and they smashed them, catching tons of fish on the beds. And the smallmouth population down there is so good that you get a good smallmouth spawn down there, and maybe then come up here May and go to Watauga, and then catch the tail end of that worm bite or some post spawn action. On Watauga. So those would be some good players. All right, so you're going out of town in June. We already know that's Guntersville. Now you come to July. It's time to go night fishing. All right, so give me our July, August, September. What night tournaments we gonna have, Kelsey?
July, South Holston.
Okay.
August, Boone.
Okay.
And September would be Douglas.
All right.
I like that. I like that September Douglas night tournament.
That has been a good one, a consistent one for us to catch some fish and get bites.
Yeah, that's normally a really good consistent catch a lot of fish and have a good night, have fun anyways.
Yep.
Just have to find those bigger ones. The reason I say South Holston, I mean, I think you wait till later in the year, it gets tougher at night. I think right there in the first bits of summer, it's a pretty good bite. You can catch them doing several different things, throwing spinnerbait, tube, worm, and catch a lot of good fish that time of year at night on South Holston. Boone, August. I mean, I kind of think, having another one close to home.
Yep.
And that's normally been a better time of year to be on that lake at night. The fishing's pretty good. Although this past year wasn't that great, but
well, I still think that you give that place another year, it's going to fish a lot different. Again, the spawn was obviously awesome. Yes, I know they also stocked with those F1s, but a lot of these fish were not F1s that we're catching. So there was a really good spawn a couple of years ago. You give that place a couple more years, it's going to be really good. All right. So now you come into October going back to a day tournament, November having a day tournament, and then wrapping up with the Classic. Now, the Classic this year should rotate back around. We did Boone this year, Holston the previous year, so it's back on Watauga. So keep that in mind as you go October, November. Yeah, Classic on Watauga. Should be a long 8-bite, man, next year on Watauga. Should be. So where are you going October and November?
October.
That's just a tough month to pick.
It is. And I would honestly say October, going back down to like Cherokee Douglas, somewhere down there. I mean, I feel like you should be able to get a good crankbait bite going on. It should be cooling down.
If you catch the weather right. If you catch the weather right. That's the thing. With that month, with October, if you go out there and you catch a cooler, windy, rainy day, smash them. You go out there, you can go down in October at the same time and catch 100-degree bluebird skies, just dead calm, and flounder out there. Yeah, I'm with you though. I say one of those two. And then November.
I say we go to Boone Day.
Back to Boone?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like from what we've seen, with the little fish and everything, I mean, we've got a lot of bites, a lot of fish are out there. I still feel like that population is just going to grow that much more. I feel like it could be a really fun tournament.
I do too. I agree. I think that'd be a good one. No Patrick Henry on the list?
No Patrick Henry. No Patrick Henry.
No Patrick Henry on the list. That one is what was blowing my mind and talking with like Mike and some of the boys is that they're pulling some good turnouts for some of those Friday night rodeos and stuff out there. I would like it more if you had some more parking. I wish they'd go down there and really build up some good parking area for boats and trailers and stuff. Because you start putting 15, 20, 25 boats out there on the water, parking and logistics become a nightmare on that one.
Yeah. I mean, just with our turnouts alone, I mean, that's enough to almost fill the parking lot. And then if you have another tournament down there, that just makes it tough.
Yeah, it does get crazy. And then that is definitely a place I would like to fish Patrick Henry, I think. And I've heard even like Andy Hodges and stuff and other people mention it February. Apparently going down there, jerk baiting's really good. A-rigging's really good down there. But the one thing I would like about doing it during a time like that is that there be no boat traffic.
Exactly.
No kayakers, because that is the one struggle there is, oh my goodness, the amount of pleasure boaters, kayakers, all of that extra curricular stuff going on is crazy.
It's not a big body of water. That's the thing. So I mean, there's nowhere to go.
It's hard to.
That's just one of those ones I'd like to. That's just one of the ones I'd like to spend more time on, learn a little better. I mean, past few times we've been out there, I mean, at least we've caught some fish. I mean, we've done pretty well in the Connect Scale tournament out there.
Yep.
And we just haven't. It's just one of those ones I have to figure out how to catch the right fish.
Right, and I haven't spent much time on it than other than hopping out there. And it has been one fun in June and stuff because those fish do spawn later and the shad spawns later. That I have liked it when we've gone there in June, except for the boat traffic and stuff. So, all right. Well, Kelsey, we're going to put a nice little bow on this end of the year to send it into Christmas time. And guys, like I said, this will be our last show for 2021. Tournament committee should be meeting here soon to lay out our schedule. So our first show for the new year will be the 2022 TNCBA preview show. Me and your boy Kelsey will be probably together for that one. We're going to be set up. We may bring in a guest with us, may get Dad in there. I don't know. he may freeze up on us on camera. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. It might be some comedic relief for us.
There will be plenty of entertainment.
There will be plenty of entertainment.
Good blooper reels anyways.
And we may even bring in some other guys if we get the chance. But that 2022 preview show will be breaking down the tournaments that are coming up, the schedule, how it lays out, what we think will be the major players as far as techniques, baits, what we think will be our predicted weights, just to get a firsthand look on the season. Guys, if you're watching this and you haven't fished with us, you're interested in fishing a club, please come hang out with us. We meet on the second Monday of every month at 7 p.m. at the Sullivan County Courthouse. We got a great group of anglers that are willing to share, talk to you, help you out, help you grow as an angler, more importantly, grow as a Christian. Again, we're completely focused on sharing the gospel and sharing the good news of Christ. So we want you to come hang out with us. We want you to come fish with us. We do these videos like this right here for our club members, not for outside views or trying to build up some sort of viewership, but to help our guys here locally. So we definitely encourage y'all to come fish with us. We want to say thank you to Piney Pawn. Again, that's who this video here is sponsored by, plus our 2021 Angler of the Year is sponsored by Piney Pawn. So we want to definitely say thank you to them. Kelsey, as we send this thing off into the winter months, people still need to get out there and do some fishing. There's some good fishing going on. So what's your word of advice to them as we sign off here?
Stay warm and have a Merry Christmas.
Stay warm, have a Merry Christmas, guys, and tight lines. We'll see y'all in 2022.